Warm welcome to my podcast, Kristin. Uh, and I would like to tell my viewers that this is our esteemed guest, Kristin, and she's gonna talk about her book, "What's Wrong with Me." So, without any further ado, let's begin the podcast, Kristin.
Thank you so much for having me.
And
I wrote this book, this novel, as a psychiatric nurse practitioner for over 20 years, um, kind of seeing the common threads of what we do with our emotions and how we manage our emotions. And a lot of the data and the science out there now is really about, how we learn how to function as children, or even before that with our genetics, how they're expressed. So I love psychological thrillers, so I really did not want to write another self-help book. So I
makes sense.
wanted to kind of integrate self-help tools within a novel. That way you're kind of being entertained, but yet kind of gaining knowledge, maybe more subconsciously, or implanting some of those seeds to kind of through Anna's journey, and her mother's journey, and how they came to therapy. And so they come from a lot of childhood adverse life events. And so you can kind of see that firsthand at the beginning. Um, and then I've also created a journal now, that can kind of flow with the book. So you can kind of think about, some prompts to think about for your own life as you're reading this novel as well. So I'm getting that ready to be published as well, to help the reader.
That's nice.
Um, yeah.
And you already answered to my first question, Christine. That is, what inspired you to write this book? So now, the other question that I would love to ask you is, uh, was it a spur of the moment thing, or you were consciously trying to make this book?
No, it was very conscious. I started this probably 10, 15 years ago,
Oh,
a
wow.
long time ago. I evolved it. A lot of editors, they told me you have to pick a genre. You can't you either have to be fiction or nonfiction and write a self-help book. But I didn't want to do that. I was like, no, there's got to be a way to be able to have both. So it's more as I've kind of more listed it as a fiction novel, with self-help tools in it.
Mm,
So that's sort of classified, in there, because you do have to pick a genre. So like more of a literary fiction, but there's sort of a murder in there, and other things in there to kind of, keep the reader engaged as well.
for that, you need to buy that book, What's Wrong with Me, right? To
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
the genre is crime thriller, right?
Well, it's more of a literary fiction. It was hard to pick one, but yes, I kind of put it as a literary fiction.
Okay.
Um, but there is definitely a lot of, yeah, thriller in there too. Uh, but it's really about Anna's journey and
Hmm.
how she makes decisions based on her childhood. So really, it's sort of what I do in my therapy is really understand who somebody is and help them to understand themselves better, and what framework they've learned, how they learned from their parents or from their love, their caregiver that raised them, that we're really learning a lot in those first 3, 4 years of our lives. And those get ingrained, those patterns kind of just sort of appear, and we're learning them subconsciously. And that's why a lot of times you're like, why am I doing this? Later on, when we have a trigger, when we're upset, we have a reaction.
Yeah.
And so the reaction is usually not something we're proud of. It's usually, reactions generally are not something that, like, had we paused and regulated ourselves and thought about it, we probably wouldn't have that reaction. We
Mm,
would we would do something different,
Yeah.
you know?
And
So
what makes you exceptional from other writers, Christine, is that when you wrote this book, you have the plethora of like years and years of experience. So it was not just writing down of words and making a story. You had your experiences in those words, I guess, as you have been dealing with this thing, psychiatrist. You have been a practitioner. So I guess
yes, yeah.
the thing, like a lot of people who write, not all of them are like practitioner like you.
Mm.
So I
Well,
guess
thank
that's commendable, and that is what is the X factor in this book. It's not merely for the sake of a novel, but you put it down your years of experience in form of characters, I guess.
right, right. And I recently started a Substack, if you are familiar with that new platform.
Doesn't ring a bell?
A Substack. And so it's more about for writers.
Okay.
However, you can create a niche of like who you're writing for, right? And so, the way I kind of look at the world, a lot of people are just kind of functioning on autopilot, right? Or on subconsciously. And we don't even realize that we're doing that because it's like driving a car, right? We drive the car. We don't think about the steps it takes. And we do that a lot in our relationships. Our relationships evolve, and then the problems keep reappearing. And there, you have the same arguments or similar arguments, or the dynamic is, you know, but until you pause and kind of reflect, what is my part in this? Because that's the only thing you can change. Things are going to continue to be the way they are.
Yeah.
So it's and there's a lot of fear and uncertainty in the world right now. There's a lot going on globally. A lot of violence and anger, um, and division, right? So to me, when we're, talking about healing, we really have to understand each other and know that they're also on autopilot and might not be realizing the damage that they're doing. So it's trying not to make assumptions, trying not to take things personally, to step back so that we can approach things, bring down the heat, right? Not escalate
Mm,
that. And I think everything, the division in America, we need to come back to unity and kindness, and like know that the other side or the political spectrum, they're not the enemy.
yeah, true.
You know, there's really no enemy. We all just want to try to live a peaceful life.
Makes sense. In the light of what you're saying, Chris, do you think that if social media, if there's no such thing as social media, world would again come back to a better place? It will become better.
You mean without social media?
Uh, Without social media, do you think world can get better?
For sure, for sure. I think social media is what I mean, it produces this though. So there's pros and cons to every single thing, right?
Yeah.
That you wouldn't have access to otherwise. So I think of it like, well, it's a platform out there. We might as well make use of it, but it's all about the balance of life, right? Don't go on social media for hours and hours a day. You want to go out there and live your life and build your relationships and enjoy this life. There's so much depression, so much anxiety, so many hurt feelings, hurt emotions. And, but the only thing we can do is kind of look at ourselves and change that. We can't change anyone else, but I think social media can have great effect, just like AI can have wonderful things about it in curing illness and disease and science. Um, collecting data much more efficiently and effectively, but it's like anything, it can also do a lot of harm. So unless you put the checks and balances in there, right? And I think in my book is like that, like if you if somebody treats you poorly and you allow them to treat you poorly or allow them to disrespect you, that's only going to grow. We have to like step back and say and teach people how to treat us and not make those assumptions. And we have so many missed opportunities of that where we avoid or we'll let somebody, kind of, well, it wasn't that big of a deal. And then we're minimizing ourselves,
Mm.
right? And we're letting that happen. And that behavior, depending on who that person is, can start to escalate. So it's almost the enabler that is more unwell than the perpetrator, because we clam up. We don't want to deal with conflict or whatever the reason behind that is. But that's what Anna did, like in the novel, like with Dave. She's kind of because it's what she saw with her parents, and then her mother shares her journal with Anna as Anna is getting married, and a lot of revelations come to Anna's light, and then she starts to see the patterns like, oh, this is why my mother is the way she is. She's been through a lot because she had a lot of anger towards her mother. Like,
Okay.
why didn't you divorce my, like, but that's the whole thing. When somebody, we don't know what people have been through.
Mm.
And so when we make assumptions on a behavior, we're doing a disservice to us, to them. If you take a step back and kind of say, well, they're defensive, why? What's going on?
Mm.
Let's kind of not make those assumptions and let's do something different.
Got
Because
it.
a lot of our defense mechanisms are from past hurts,
Mm.
past traumas that our bodies just want to go to safety. So it's always, if you're hyper vigilant or hyper alert or kind of waiting for somebody to hurt you, it will inevitably happen, and then you react. You're just like, you don't want to be sitting there waiting for somebody to hurt you, and then you're using your fight or flight instead of just kind of enjoying your life, right? You're always sort of on guard
Yeah.
instead of enjoying your life.
And Christine, I'm gonna bother you with one question that I often ask to all the authors. Like, let's assume that I'm a director and I want to make a movie, and Anna and Dave are the protagonist of the film. So, who do you think would be the right casting, the cast of actors and actresses for the protagonist, Dave
Like,
and
like name a person,
yeah,
like
exactly,
actress,
actor and actresses.
like, oh, who would play Anna?
Yeah.
Um, gosh. Well, it would have to be somebody a little bit younger because she's
Okay.
young. Um, I don't know. I've always liked Emily Blunt. She's
Oh
she's
wow. But
she,
I guess more young, younger than her. I guess still we need that. Or
yeah, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm probably aging myself out here too. I don't know a lot of the younger actresses. Somebody similar to her. I'm trying. Who
Emma
do you think?
Watson. Emma Watson. Do you think Emma
Oh
Watson?
yeah. Yeah, she would be good.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, she would be good as well. So Dave is the other character, and I'm writing another book, another novel, What is Wrong with You,
Yeah.
currently.
Yes.
And it's based on the Dave's character, and how he ended up becoming who he is. And so, um, without giving away the first book, something happened to his mother, and
Mhm.
so his mother's in the first book too as well, with his father and what happened to him. So it's kind of a parallel to see, and hopefully, he's got a personality disorder, and I really want the reader to see how even somebody with narcissism, or you know um you know, just some traits of narcissism. It's how their insecurity has built up, how they learn to be the way they are as well through learned behaviors, some traumas in their lives. And it's ultimately, narcissism can go both ways too, though. You can also be treated like with a silver spoon as a child and given everything, and kind of like not had to face adversity, or just assumed you didn't have to do anything to be entitled. You're just special, and so like narcissism can come in many different forms as well. So it's never a good idea as parents, to parenting is hard. There's no playbook. And I think, it's something that you have to be consciously parenting, and it's so important to, like pause, step back and, you know, relax your muscles, regulate your emotions, and then think about, if I do this, what's could be the outcome? I don't want to repeat my parents' mistakes, but I don't want to. A lot of parents will go the other extreme, and we don't want to do that either. Kids need rules, they need discipline, they need to know, what are their boundaries. If you don't parent with boundaries, you're gonna have problems later on.
Got
you
it.
know but that was sort of what brought that on, because nobody liked Dave's character, but I want to have empathy for him.
Okay. All
you
right.
know it's without empathy, even for people who not do not treat us well, right? Then it just escalates the problem.
Mhm.
And we also have to have empathy for ourselves, which is why we need to create really good, healthy boundaries. You hear a lot of self-help tools about boundaries, healthy boundaries. How do you make them? How do you form them? You know, and there's a lot of good information out there too. But people get stuck, and if you're trying to do these things, you have to be very kind to yourself, because you're going to relapse.
Mm.
Because those embedded neural pathways are exactly what I mean. They're embedded. So the more you do something, or have a certain reaction, if you do it 10 or 20 or 30 times, it's your go-to. Creating a new neural pathway or something different takes time and patience and a lot of effort to create a different way of doing something.
Yeah. Mm. And I guess Anna is asking this question, what is wrong with me? I guess that's her, right?
All in the book. Yeah. Whenever like she finds herself in a situation, she says, "What is wrong with me?" So everything, what is she doing? She blames herself for everything.
Right.
It's never anyone else's fault.
So can we say that she has some sort of imposter syndrome, that she feels like she is the reason for everyone, and she's like having some sort of, there's a word for it, like low self-esteem, and is.
Yes, yes, yes. But that stems from early childhood neglect and abandonment. So we have an innate, as children, we have an innate, we kind of revere our caregivers, our parents, like, and we kind of make that assumption, children, that this is what's normal. This is my environment. It's all I know. So this is what's normal to me. And so even if it's dysfunctional, it becomes normal, normalized. You know how to act in this situation. So then later down the road, you tend to gravitate towards similar personalities. And
Mm.
that's why you feel like, why am I've been here before? Like you want something different, but you don't know, it's your automatic behavior is more comfortable with the way you were brought up. So you kind of keep attracting
Yeah.
that back into your life,
Mm.
and it's subconscious. I don't think you want to do this. It's just, and then you feel like you're just re-traumatizing, re-victimizing yourself over and over again.
Mm.
You know, I hope that answered that question.
And the great thing about this podcast is you are not merely talking about your book, you are also dropping some insights on human emotions and how to deal with it. That's the best.
Yeah,
Like I said, it's not merely a novel created by a writer, but a writer with years of experience.
yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, and my patients, I learn more from them than I do a lot of research and look at the current science, because it's so important to keep up with that. And then, my patients, they endless knowledge through them. And even in the book, there are events that have happened that actually happened to people.
Yeah.
I picked little stories out of each person's journey, and
Hmm.
and I always look at being this person that people are actually sharing intimate their life story with me, and it's a privilege, it's an honor. When somebody's able to do that.
Hmm. And oftentimes, like in context of life itself, Christian, I guess you would be the right person. When we see the, sorrows of others, and when we see the vicissitudes of other people, we feel like our life is, I guess, less worse than those people. That makes us feel a little bit of gratitude. Uh,
Yes, yes. Yeah, it can always be worse, right?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, and I start my day every morning. I stretch in bed and I kind of regulate and I kind of do grateful. Like, what am I grateful for?
Mm.
You want to live your life with, the glass half full, not half empty.
Yeah, definitely.
It's, and we have that choice, no matter how bad our lives are.
Mm.
We have that choice.
Yeah, true.
We have a lot more empowerment, and I think that's really what I want to do to make better, communities, make better the world a better place.
Definitely.
Because it the world to me, you look, it seems pretty scary.
True. But in my case, Kristen, if I tell you honestly, all the people that I've met so far, all of them are really beautiful and good people. Be it my guest on my podcast channel, I have never met a person which is bad. I don't know why in today's world it is possible, but all the people that I've met are mostly genuinely good. So
They
I,
are.
yeah.
Yes, we have to remind ourselves of that, but unfortunately what sells in the news is the negative.
True.
That's where all the ratings are, like, but you are absolutely right. We are genuinely, good people who just want to live a good life, and
Mm.
whatever that means to them. But it mostly doesn't mean to harm others in this life. It's, you know, that's really not. And I sort of look at narcissists as that too. They're so insecure underneath it all, and they're so defensive and they're just unable to take any criticism. So it just, gosh, it's just so toxic though to try to be kind to somebody like that, but that's the only way out of it. That to try to be kind, but yet with boundaries, like, hey, I don't think you mean to do this. However, this is what's happening. The end to the means is not, I mean, hurting other people, you know, how is that good for anyone, even for yourself? You
I,
know,
Uh, even I would love to know, Christine, that you are a working professional, a mom. and you are doing a lot of things. I know that. So how do you manage work-life balance? A lot of people nowadays, they are, they're like, we are always in this thing like we have to work or else we would left behind. This thing is always in the back of our mind. So how do you manage your work-life thing, and what sort of advice would you like to give to the viewers as well?
I do a lot of what I preach, right? So I'm listening to my body. My body is talking to me. My body will tell me when I'm getting tired. My body will tell me, and I think I don't know, maybe this is just in the United States, we have these expectations that we have to do this and have to do this, have to be perfect, have to, and I don't subscribe to that. I said, I'm going to do what's right for me. I don't have to do, what everyone else is doing, right? And so I want to exercise, but I'll do it on my, what works for me. I
Hmm,
don't, I don't have to, follow along, what,
the
you know,
bandwagon.
yeah. Yeah, and just listening to yourself. If you start listening to yourself and just being kinder to yourself, because we don't do that. We're like, "Oh, I'm getting really tired," and we push through. How many times do people push through instead of saying, no, I'm gonna, I'm gonna listen. And you can say, hey, I was gonna do that, but I'm really feeling tired right now. And, so I'm gonna make a change. We're so worried about disappointing people or like letting people down or, but we're letting ourselves down when we're not listening to ourselves. And then when you start getting the hang of it, you won't make those commitments. You'll start to say, you know what, because I limit the new patients that I take on, because I want to have available slots for my patients. I had two elderly parents I was taking care of. One did pass just recently with dementia, which is another whole story. But now I'm taking care of my mother. My husband, I've got three teenage kids that are trying to figure their lives out. But I encourage them. I'm here for you. You know, um, but allowing that space for them to grow and try to figure out their lives and encourage them that they have good tools, but I'm here for the support,
Makes sense.
so it's just kind of stepping back and listening to yourself. You have your body will tell you and your mind will tell you if you're regulated what is right for you.
Right.
You need to trust yourself more. Does that
And
help?
yeah, definitely. It's really therapeutic having this conversation with you. And coming back to your novel, What's Wrong with Me? How did you come up with the names, Christine? Like this is Anna, this is Dave.
Oh, Anna was kind of simple. My middle name was Anne, and I wanted something simple.
Okay.
It's kind of a universal name. There's a lot of Annas out there, some of the characters' names are, it's funny that they're some of my children's names and nieces' names. And I think I left out a few people that are kind of unhappy. So I'm like, well, you're going to be in the next book.
Yeah. Also, if possible, add the name Janiel somewhere in the next book.
Yes, I can do that.
And when can people expect the new book? What is wrong with you, Christine?
Well, because I listen to my body,
Hmm.
I have I work at my own pace, it won't be 15 years. I'm hoping, in 2026 sometime.
Okay.
That's my goal.
Hmm.
My goal, but sorry I can't be more forthcoming. I'm in chapter 5 right now. So
Wow.
and
Nice.
then it's a process, because you want to be in the right mind when I'm thinking about this because it's
Hmm.
pretty tiring because I'm thinking about a lot of aspects to it. adding the self-help tools in it. I really want to get the picture. The audience can get the picture that you can see the personality developing,
Wow, great.
you know. So yeah. So I do take my time with this.
And when it comes to that, Christine, like the writing process, like do you feel like I want to write, then you write, or it comes all of sudden to you, and then you start the writing?
Um, Now it's just finding the time because I have the ideas. So I wrote down that generally
Mhm.
the how the format that I want to do, kind of a bigger picture. So now I'm like, do I have the time? And now it's sort of like I got to just schedule the time because I'm better in the morning. So it's better to like, okay, I'm going to schedule this time because I'm more brighter. I know my body, I know myself, right? You know when you're at your best time of day.
I guess you are
So
getting a call.
yeah, sorry about
Uh, it's all right. I guess even the meeting is compelling us to end it, Christine.
that. Okay.
Um, Thank you a lot for being a part of this podcast. And there's going to be a part two where Kristen and I will be talking about politics. Like,
Uh,
so yeah,
I'm not an expert with that, but I'm happy to share the psychological piece. You
definitely.
know, to me, it's yeah, the history. History all it's like patterns repeating themselves. When you
Mhm.
step back, you're like, wow, do we? A lot of people aren't seeing the patterns.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm. Like if you don't learn from the history, history will repeat itself.
it's yes, yes, and we're seeing it. Firsthand. And
Hmm.
it's very, very sad to me because there's a lot of people suffering, you know. But we got to stay positive and hopeful and the glass half full. But we
Hmm.
have to learn, we got to band together. We have to learn that, people who want power try to divide people. The only way to gain power is through division and that having an enemy, right? And we don't have any enemies. Why do we have to have an enemy?
True. Yeah.
you know so we have to remind ourselves that yeah, even the people who are trying to divide us we have to be kind to, and that doesn't feel right either.
Hmm. All right. On that note,
But
Christine,
all
uh,
right.
thank you for being a part of this podcast. It means a lot to me. Thanks a million. And again, to my viewers, check out the book, What's Wrong with Me. And this is Christine, and we're gonna catch up soon, Christine.
Okay, thank you so much. Nice to see you.
Yeah, bye.
Okay. All righty. Bye-bye.